So what if the world isn't nearly as random as it seems? Today, we're diving into this really fascinating text. It's called the Living Pattern Codex, and it proposes something pretty radical, that there's this hidden structure, a living pattern, woven right into the very fabric of reality itself.
You know, it all kicks off with a simple question, one that I'm sure we've all asked ourselves at some point. Have you ever had one of those coincidences? One that's just so bizarre, so perfectly timed, that it feels like, well, like it's got to be more than just random chance. That feeling right there, that's our doorway into the world of the Codex.
So that feeling naturally leads us into our first big idea here, the hunt for pattern. I mean, our brains are literally hardwired for this stuff. We're pattern-seeking creatures through and through. It's how we survive, it's how we learn, it's really how we make any sense of the world at all.
And believe it or not, this phenomenon actually has a name: synchronicity. It's a term coined by the famous psychologist Carl Jung, and it's all about those meaningful coincidences. You know, moments where two things happen that are connected by meaning, but there's no obvious cause and effect relationship. The classic example, right? You're thinking about an old friend you haven't talked to in years, and bam, your phone rings, and it's them. There's no scientific reason that happened, but that feeling of connection, it's undeniable.
And this is a really key distinction that the Codex makes. See, science is amazing at finding causal patterns, the predictable, repeatable laws of physics. But the Codex is looking at something else. It's exploring patterns of meaning. It's not so much worried about how these things are physically connected, but more about why they feel so deeply connected to us.
Okay, so how on earth do you even start looking for these patterns of meaning? Well, the Codex proposes we use a specific toolkit. Think of it like a set of special lenses for seeing the world in a new way. All right, first tool in the box, symbolism. The source makes a powerful point here. Symbols are not just decorative fluff. They are the absolute bedrock of how we think. I mean, think about it. Words, logos, flags, even just a simple stop sign. Our entire world is built on things that stand for other things. They're like these super condensed packets of meaning.
And the Codex really hones in on these powerful symbols that just keep popping up again and again across different cultures and all through history. Like take the serpent, for example. In one story, it's wisdom. In another, it's pure danger. Or think about the tower. It can mean strength and ambition, but it can also mean a great fall. These aren't simple pictures. They're packed with deep, layered meaning.
Okay, the second tool in our kit is this really interesting idea of viewing number as a language. This goes way back to ancient systems like Hebrew gematria or Greek isopsephy. The basic idea is that every letter in the alphabet also corresponds to a number. So what that means is that every single word, every name, has a numerical value kind of hidden inside it.
Here's a simple example from ancient Greek. Alpha is 1, beta is 2, gamma is 3, and you just keep going. A system like this lets you, well, calculate the value of any word you want. And suddenly, you've got this whole hidden layer of numerical connections linking totally different ideas.
And the final tool in the Codex's toolkit brings it all together. It connects these abstract numbers to the physical world through geometry. You can think of it as number that you can actually see. The source points to these amazing examples, like the beautiful 5-petal pattern that the planet Venus traces in our sky over 8 years. It's this incredible meeting point of astronomy, numbers, and pure, elegant shape.
All right, so we've got our toolkit, right? Symbolism, number as a language, and geometry. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because the Codex starts applying these tools to real-world events, both modern and historical. And just a quick heads up here, we are simply explaining the connections that the source text itself makes. We're not endorsing them, just laying them out for you.
So, let's dive in. The first big numerical pattern the Codex highlights centers on a single number, 77.
So here's what the Codex points out. It says that using one of its specific ciphers, phrases like September 11th and World Trade Center both calculate out to the number 77. Then it highlights these other details. It was Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon. The Pentagon is often cited as being 77 feet tall, and it's located right near the 77th meridian. Now, the source presents this not as just a bunch of random trivia, but as a cluster of meaningful connections hinting at some kind of symbolic echo around these huge events.
Okay, moving on. Another key number that the source focuses on is 121. And with this number, the Codex claims that phrases like coronavirus outbreak and World Health Organization also calculate to 121. But then it points to the timing. The very first confirmed case of COVID-19 in the US was announced on January 21st, or 1/21, a date that perfectly mirrors the number. Again, The suggestion here is a potential pattern tied to moments of major global crisis.
But the Codex doesn't just look for patterns in big external events. It also turns its focus inward, to the human mind. The argument goes that if we want to understand the larger pattern out there, we first have to get a handle on the nature of our own memory.
And this is where something called the Mandela effect comes into play. It's this really bizarre anomaly where huge numbers of people all share the exact same false memory about something common, a famous logo, a line from a movie, a historical fact. For the Codex, this isn't just some weird brain glitch. It's seen as a potentially huge piece of the puzzle.
Now, what's crucial to understand is that the Codex doesn't force a single explanation on us. It looks at all the possibilities, from simple things like our memories just being faulty or confusion from the media, all the way to much more out there ideas about shifting timelines. The main takeaway isn't the answer. It's that the phenomenon itself is taken seriously.
So let's recap. We've talked about synchronicity, symbols, numbers in the news, even glitches in our own memory. All of these threads, they're all leading up to the Codex's final, big-picture hypothesis about what it all could possibly mean.
And really, the core idea is captured perfectly in this one quote directly from the text. It asks us to just suppose. Suppose that there's an intelligence that could be speaking to us, not by doing flashing miracles or breaking the laws of physics, but by working within them, speaking through nature, through timing, through symbols, through the very coincidences that most of us just brush off.
So in the end, the Codex doesn't hand you a neat, tidy answer. Nope. Instead, it leaves all of us with a pretty powerful question. Is the world around us just an empty, random mechanism, just grinding away meaninglessly? Or could we be living inside a pattern, a vast, intricate, and maybe even meaningful design? And that's the question you're left to think about.